everyone. So for this week's video, I want to share a collage that I did off screen. I called it Delayed as it related to a flight delay, and I really like it. It comes from a magazine that had this Grey's Anatomy type of figure in it. I got two of them because the imagery was too wonderful to pass up, and I feel like I want to do another one. What was unique about this figure was that it was in the middle of the fold of the magazine, so I had to be really careful cutting it out because it wasn't complete in the magazine. You might be able to see on the back, but you know what? You'll be able to see on the other one, the one that I'm going to work with, how that happened. So here was the fold. Here's the other one, and the fold was like right here. So I had to be really careful. Even like this part looks really cool. I had to be really careful taking it apart. And I went ahead and attached it together again with some packing tape, which I'll use today also, trusting packing tape. And I want to do something similar to this collage. It was a lot of fun, but I did it all off camera. And there were lots of fussy cutting here between the ribs and the throat, in the mid-body area. I just really had a lot of fun with it, and I love how the eye came out also. Not sure if I'm going to mimic this exactly. I could change plans in the middle and go off in a totally different direction, but it's going to be very similar to this. It's just going to be the process I'll be sharing with you. I have the ephemera I think I'm going to be using for the most part. Here off to the side, there's some pink still. You know me and pink, guys. I think I will have an opportunity to use these pieces also, which I'm really excited about. They were a nice fussy cut. I like this flower maybe for the eye, maybe not. I'm not sure yet. Just playing right now, but also getting ready to build. So if you want to come with me and see what this one will look like, we may have two versions of the same thing. As you could see in the time lapse, we were playing with the ephemera that we have for the head. I do like this flower for the eye, so I think I'm going to stay with that. The other pieces, I really like this, but it's almost like it just changes the whole look of him. He almost has like an Inca feel to him, a type of soldier of sorts with this piece for the head. What I love about this image is that I want to maintain the majority of the original, but adding my own ephemera to it and cutting in between. So there's a lot more cutting that we're going to have to do. So, but that means I want to still show off the original piece. So I just want to put a little bit up there for the head. I also have this, and this is the part I love the most about collage, is I can play and decide, and don't take myself too seriously or make things too precious. Like the strawberry. I was actually, it's kind of funny. I was actually thinking about the strawberry as the heart, but again, like I just shared, I really love the way the original pieces look, and I don't want to deviate too much from them. So I'm still not sure about that yet. Just going slow right now, and always less is more. So I'm thinking I think this is my favorite. Oh, it's your favorite too. But I'm thinking about doing this for the head and maybe pulling it out a little bit more. So it looks like, yeah, that is his skull. So I think this is good. I also did a very small incision over here if I want to tuck anything in there. So there's a lot of tucking going on for this piece. But I think we're good. I don't think I need to do much more to it than this. Maybe just keep one of the rounded sides, because this side is a little bit more flat. And here, if we keep things kind of on the orb side, especially with that highlight at the top here, the hot spot, that looks good. Then we have our lights. We have something of a light source there. So, okay. I think we're going to keep going with this, and what I want to do next, I'm going to apply the eye, of course, but now we're going to start working down here. When I'm working in time-lapse, you may see me cutting out sections, but I want to maintain, again, the integrity of the original piece. This is all to enhance what we are doing, so let's keep cutting. Did something a little different this time. He almost looks like a masked guy anyway, so it's fine. I did not glue it down. I actually used packing tape. I cut out the eye, and I thought I'll use that space to attach the rose. And then later I'm like looking, like I could put the eye on here. Maybe that would be interesting, and it'll be just a touch different from our first guy. Yeah, I kind of like the way it looks. It absolutely doesn't take away from it. And again, we are using the original piece. I'm going to give him a bit of trim here on the head, just to round that off just a little bit so it evens up with the skull we have. Yeah, I think that'll be good. What I'm doing is trying to, again, maintain the integrity of the original piece, but I am obviously removing areas. I want to be cognizant of contrast. Here's a good way to look at the contrast here. You know, we have the ink drawing, as it were, and then we have this pink going on, but I'm not going to use this. I mean, I could use the pink if I want as like a base, but I don't really need to do that. But that is what I am intending on doing throughout this collage, just removing sections of it. And it feels a little odd because I went from repairing it, putting it back together, from being cut in the middle, to having, cutting out portions again. So it's a little odd working with it. But again, I did do it before. So it's not such a big deal after all. And I want to be careful of my craftsmanship. That's always, forever going to be an issue. And I want to think also about my color. I have this. I love this. I mean, I love that it's shaped like a dollar sign. But I'm not going to use the dollar sign. I'm going to use the little candies or whatever it was making up the dollar sign. I want to use this, I think, for the torso, maybe going vertically instead of horizontally. I'm not sure yet. I like this as we were playing with it for the head. The trouble is that it's a little dark, so I mean, I could maybe do something like this. Yeah, that would work. That would be okay. There's enough contrast, but I don't know. I'm going to play with it a little bit more. I also have this. This is a contrast, but there's a lot going on, so I need to think about that. I'm also looking at this piece. I want to take out this little tiny bit of background there. I may as well, because again, this was from the middle of a magazine. It's at the fold, so there's nothing attaching it to the other side, so it's going to be a pretty easy cut. And I have a nice sharp X-Acto knife, so my cut should be easy. Unless I pile up the packing tape, which I really don't want to do. So here we have, the candy. I think the candy would look really cool. We kind of have, some circular stuff going on. Okay, let's keep cutting and let's get back to work. I want to apply the ephemera as I go because this is fragile. We want tensile strength. This also looks good too. Oh, decisions, decisions, decisions. There is a lot of fancy cutting going on here, and it almost reminds me of lace. What I'm also trying to do is maintain that ink outline of the body to add contrast. So it will help me in making decisions for my ephemera. We also have just the tiniest bit of negative space between the arm and the torso. I gotta maintain this before I do any more cutting, before I cut him out, or her. I think it could be a her, I'm not sure. But I need to consider, again, what do I want to use, and I don't have too much of this. I have a little bit, but I don't have very much, and I would maybe like to use it, well, I would like to use it here, but I don't have enough to maybe share with this end. Plus, we have it up here, so we may put this off to the side. We will definitely revisit it. I just have this simple pink, lovely though it may be, but it's a little plain. We can always add to it again if we feel that way, but we have so much interesting design going on with the small pieces that we do have that I don't have to limit myself to just this simple pink. This might be good to fill in a gap if I notice a gap going on when I am working, because that does happen. So maybe this is a little busy and maybe a little too light. And then we do have our little red orb. Orb. I am thinking of titles for this piece. Because again, when my editor starts working, he always asks me, what's the title? And I usually say, I don't know yet, but now it's coming to me. It usually does as I'm working. We definitely have an orb vibe going on, so I might christen this orb. I like the way this is looking too. So a little bit of pink. One thing I like that. That looks really good. One thing that I want to impress upon all of you who are maybe new to collage or maybe just joined the channel is that it's nice to have maybe some wild design, but then you need a break. Give yourself a little break and bring something in, maybe not as designy. Is that a word? Did I just invent a word? Designy. No, I didn't. I don't know. So I like this. This is a great contrast with our flowered paper that we used up on the shoulder. And I do like this. Now, do I have enough to share with both sides? Maybe, maybe not. Originally, here we go again, I did these fancy cuts several weeks, maybe months ago now, and I thought I would put them here on the arms. That does look good, but the fact of the matter is, like my other idea, that's what happens with the collage. I start in one direction and I end up doing a 360. So let's go ahead and finish this up. I am going to try to maybe share this with the other side. And let's see how that works out. Off screen and then continuing to do so because it is obviously very fussy cutting and it's a bit tedious, but we have dealt with this design before, so it's nothing new for me. Just going slow and cutting away at this rib cage. This was the most challenging part. I'm up for the task. I'm also thinking about maybe this area. I think that was a lung. And I'm running into trouble with the initial rib gap that I needed to mend to make our body whole. So I am just cutting in between these ribs. I am trying very hard to maintain that line, something of a contrast to whatever the ephemera is going to be. I finished up this arm, just going back here a little bit. Used just a basic pink, then something a little more detailed here. I also cut his fingers free because, like the original piece, they're holding something. I'll show you that in a minute or two. And I'd like this one to also hold something in the hand. Then I'm going to need to work on this torso area, same thing. I really love these black lines that delineate, I believe, veins or ligaments. I want to do that here and then down here, and then we should be okay, and we can finish. What I want to do, as I shared before, is make the cut, add the ephemera, and go from there. I'd like to explain something here. For the lungs or the chest cavity, I want to use the continuation from the throat into the chest cavity with these little candy beads. Not sure what those are called. That was our dollar sign. It's no longer a dollar sign, and it doesn't apply to our body. So what I would like to do, when it stands alone, it looks good. I could certainly do that. I don't think it's a bad thing. But when it has a background, with this nice rough pink background, that might be even better. And this is where layering is important with collage. So this is something to remind you, if you are new to this medium, to take these kinds of chances and just layer things. It might look good with something else. So you definitely see some of the candy pieces, but you also see that pink going on. And of course, when this is all done, we'll do a close-up so you can see what I'm doing here. This is all very fragile. This kind of fussy cutting lends itself to danger, that we could easily rip something or cut indirectly and take off an important piece, take off a rib, perhaps. We don't want to do that. I can look on the back here and see the spaces that I'm going to want my ephemera to go. And nothing specific, I can just go ahead and tape on these pieces of pink, and they should be safe. And if they overlap, that's not a problem. These should go very well together. However, I need to think about where I'm going to put my candy pieces. So I'm going to attach the tape just above the pink pieces. Oops, I moved it a little bit, didn't want to do that. Okay, let's get that back here. Now the reason I'm doing it like a hinge is because I can come in and apply the candy pieces to our pink background. So here we are. We have a wonderful, okay, yeah, I really like the way that pink looks. It would probably look okay with that alone, but we are going to add just a little bit more color, give it a little bit more contrast, and we don't have to worry too much about placement. We just know we would like it there. I can look at this again. I can look at these spaces that I cut out, hinge this, and I can just maybe just cut this up and put things where I think they belong. Just tape them down, and this should be okay. It'll be different, and I want something that looks colorful and different, but I also want something that adds contrast and interest and stays with the integrity again of this design. So not a ton of this, but just a little bit. Maybe I'm going to use these thinner pieces of the sugar candy coated things and just place them, sporadically around and see how that looks, because there's nothing specific that I want to focus on the candy. That's going to be important to the composition of this piece. And again, I'm just going to hinge it here like this. So nothing fancy, they're in place. And to make sure they're in place even more, I can just go ahead and tape this down. And maybe just a little tape here. And I will continue with my cutting. I'm coming to the conclusion of this collage, and I know where I'm going to be cutting and all that good stuff that I'm going to be doing, but it's still fragile, and I want to ensure that it stays in place. So I'm just going to add a lot more tape because I'm not going to be doing any more of that delicate cutting. So I shouldn't have to worry too much about that. I'm just going to back the whole thing up with a big piece of packing tape, and I think that should do the trick. Normally, I share that I don't like a lot of adhesive and to take it easy with the adhesive, and that rings true for these projects. But for this, because I know that there's a lot of delicate issues going on, I really want to make sure everything stays in place. And I'm getting ready to cut free the collage from the background, and I think we should be okay. I'm just going to add this packing tape for some tensile strength. I was concerned about up here where the neck is and the face. I'm going to use my trusty scissors, and this is what I'm talking about right here. I have a thin line that I'm cutting, and I'm cutting through packing tape. I can feel it. That's not a bad thing, but I know that it's hinging the ephemera to the focal point, and I want to be careful. Things can fall loose, and it's easy enough to remedy, but if I don't have to, I would rather not. And see, this one is very weak. See how the hand is loose from there? So what I need to do, I really need to tape that down, but I might run into trouble. I may not know exactly where I need to cut, or rather, exactly where I need to tape my ephemera down, because there's still a little bit more that I want to do, and I'll show you probably in the last shot. I don't want this hand. Yeah, this is definitely getting to be a little tricky. But it'll give me a good idea where I should perhaps put some tape. Yeah, this is messy. We're going to cut this away. Give it a cut. I don't want to give it too much of a straight edge because this is all very curvy. My favorite made up turn biomorphic. And I want to make sure it all stays together. I think we should be okay. I'm going to use my X-Acto here. So let's commence cutting. And you may see me stopping and putting on more swatches of packing tape. This last part, again, very delicate because I'm trying to maintain an outline. So we may have even, like less than a nano inch to maintain. I want to keep this outline, and I have this little bit of negative space I want to cut away, and I don't think I can keep that black outline. I'm also realizing that, of course, I could use Mod Podge to keep this delicate vein ligament look going on, but I haven't been doing that. And what I have been doing, and I almost feel sacrilege, quite honestly, I am taking pieces of packing tape and putting it right on top of the ephemera, right on top of this delicate spacing. I did it over here. I'm not sure if you saw me do that in time-lapse, and I'm going to do it over here too. It's going to keep it in place. Maybe it's not the neatest way to go, but I'm okay with the way it looks. I don't think it's a bad thing, really, and it's going to keep everything safe. And it's also going to, again, offer that tensile strength. Normally I don't condone this, it's like I wouldn't really do this, but in this case I kind of don't have a problem really with it, because I did a lot of work on this collage, and I want to finish it, and I want it to look good, and I want it to stay in place, at least to get it onto that scanner bed, right? And then we can do anything we want to it in Photoshop. But 90% of this piece, as you know, as you have watched, is analog, and I want to maintain that, and I want to keep it safe, and I want to get it to its destination in one piece. Although it really turns out it's going to be many, many pieces all together. I'm going to do something with this hand. I'm not going to worry too much about these fingers, because I think I want to place that orb, that red orb I've been playing with. I'm not going to do any fussy cutting rather with these 3 fingers. But I do want to get that red orb in there to make it look like our person is holding it. And I also cut it by accident here, and I kind of want to hide that. It's not a huge deal, but I'll do something like this. Maybe show those fingers a little bit. Oh, I don't want to do any more fussy cutting today, really. Maybe do that. Do something with the cut. This finger's a little messy. Go ahead and cut something away there. I think like I said, we're nearing the finish line with this. So I want to thank you for watching this video with me, for staying tuned and meeting me at the finish line. I will have a full shot of this piece in just a second for you. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.